around the world. So I'm really thankful that ZF makes this event happen. I was lucky to attend last year's event in person in Vegas. And before that, I had attended the events virtually. So this really makes a difference. Of course, you can watch the sessions later or live stream it. But when you actually talk to the people behind the projects, you learn about their intentions, what they're going through, where do they see the future going, what are the expectations from Zcash, or the other cryptocurrencies that they use, right? So there's a lot you get to learn, and this is the bear market right now, as we all know. It's a time to build. Their tensions are even higher, so expectations are even higher. So you get to basically learn from everyone's perspectives and make a plan to move ahead. Matt here is new to Zcash. We got him on Nighthawk this January. So, Matt, do you want to talk about your experience so far?
Yeah, it's been really interesting just seeing, because I've kind of been like a skulker a little bit on the forums and kind of in the community online, just because, I don't know, maybe it's like imposter syndrome or something, but just being so new to the community, I just, I haven't established as many opinions as some of the other folks have. So I tend to be less vocal, but it's very interesting to meet everybody, to hear people's thoughts and just how passionate they are about this ecosystem. And it's very cool to just see how invested people are in it. So it's been really fun so far. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the conference. It's going to be great.
Yeah, the passion is real. And that's definitely noticeable. Like you can feel it when you're in these conversations with people, and we start talking about the stuff that we really care about and we're enthusiastic about it. And the personalities of all of us come out, and it's that passion that drives it out, I think. And it's everyone here is passionate about privacy, but also some other part of that is the Zcash ecosystem. Like, for example, wallet developers. Can you tell us a little bit about Nighthawk?
Yes, I hope you still attend our session on day 3.
That's what I was going to ask. You're doing a session, right?
Yes, we are. So Nighthawk originally started in 2020 as a hackathon project organized by the ECC. And our aim at that time was, like, personally for me, I wanted to make a usable wallet for myself and our user base, the Boston Zcash user group. So we had certain criteria that we wanted a shielded only wallet, right? So no transparent ZEC. We actually blocked users to send ZEC out to transparent addresses as well in the beginning. So we are that hard focused on privacy. Of course, no logging. It's a tough thing to do in mobile software development, where you want to learn from your users about how their experience has been, to collect logs. But having been software developers ourselves, we know how much extra logging and surveillance can leak your information. So we didn't want to do that. So we worked closely with our early users to develop that experience, learned a bunch of stuff, got a UX designer funded who built a new UX that we'll be relaunching soon, because design is important. There are people out there using their banking apps, their P2P payment apps, and they have set expectations of how payments should work like. Even beyond, okay, so those are the new users that we aim to target for Zcash adoption. But even the existing cryptocurrency users, they have set expectations of how their mobile wallets of other cryptocurrencies work. So it's a long way to get there. The thing I find missing in Zcash is dev tooling. And that can be as described as something you introduce to new developers, like, hey, you want to try Zcash? If you have a Mac, just go to brew, install ZecKit. If we had something like that that existed, you can attract new developers and make them work. So it took us extra time to dive deeper in Zcash, find
Víctor por ahí, pues yo les expliqué que...
And just at the time when we released the working product for about 6 months in 2022, we had good times, Z2Z messaging parties and all, but then the spam attack started after the NU5. That really pushed us back, right? Because our users could no longer keep up with the chain. User experience dropped. There were other issues, like I was serving on the Zcash grants committee at the time, so I could not fund our developers. And I mean, it was the pandemic also. You should not forget, people are going through a lot of different challenges.
Year.
Yes.
Tienes ahorita trabajo, te vi que estabas hablando con Zuko, estabas hablando, you was talking with Zuko, lo van a entrevistar también allá en el Seal Talks. Okay.
Zuko is brother name.
Okay. How many time will take all the conversations? 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Actually, I don't know. It depends on the talk, actually.
Okay.
Because Ryan has a lot of questions.
Okay.
It will be like informal.
Informal, okay.
Informal interview.
Relax.
So yeah, we don't have plans for the interview. Just call, chilling with Zuko and his brother. So yeah, it'll be like in a few minutes, I think. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Bueno, déjame seguir aquí viendo con quién converso más. Gracias. Nos vemos. Joel, cuando puedas, estás en vivo. Estoy transmitiendo para el canal de YouTube de Zcash en español. Hello. ¿Qué tal tu impresión ¿entiendes el español? ¿Qué tal tu impresión de este primer día de la Zcon?
muy chido.
Ok, muy chido. Excelente. ¿Cuál fue tu ponencia favorita?
No sé.
Todas estuvieron muy buenas, ¿verdad?
Sí, la de Naomi Rockwell.
Naomi fue la que yo me perdí, porque estaba... Qué bueno. ¿Vas a hacer algo de tu podcast aquí? ¿Vas a transmitir en tu podcast desde aquí de Barcelona? Ok, bueno, si vas a transmitir, por favor, queremos estar allí, Zcash contigo o te entrevistamos, ¿ok? Gracias por tu tiempo, gracias. Miren quién está por aquí. Por aquí tengo a dos amigos. YouTube. Huh? And you are? John. It's John from the Zcash Foundation. Aquí está. What were your favorite conference today? Your favorite speaker today?
Good question. I actually liked the one about
Naomi Rockwell. Everybody loved.
I missed that one. The getting to Gilead one.
Okay.
Which was
Okay.
I have to look up who that was exactly. I can't remember off the top of my head. That was really good.
Okay. Do you know some words in Spanish?
Not many. Gracias.
No te preocupes, no hay ningún problema. Esto es informal también y estoy transmitiendo para Zcash en español, pero bueno, aquí estamos. Gracias por tu tiempo. Thanks. Ajá, mira aquí quién tenemos. Estamos en vivo, estoy transmitiendo en vivo. Skylar, how are you? ¿Qué te ha parecido este primer día de la Zcon? What do you think about the first day of Zcon? Your favorite speaker?
Malísimo.
Malo, ok. Esto lo está viendo la gente de la fundación.
Una broma. Aprendí con un hombre de Madrid.
Ok.
La comida es muy buena. Muy rica.
Demasiado buena.
¿Qué está? Whatever. He's like, oh, malísima. Una broma.
Hay que hablar con la gente de la fundación porque mucha comida.
Sí.
Vamos a irnos gordos. So fat.
Yeah. Some say, alguien dice,
Alguien.
las tortillas de harina como frijoles y quesos,
Arepas.
Pero España, croquetas, bacalao,
Fish.
chipirones,
Gambas.
gambas.
What was your experience like working in ZCG?
Well, it was only the second year of the community-run grants committee. I think the first thing we did was change the name from ZOMG because we thought it might not attract a wide variety of applicants from different phases. So we changed it to Zcash community grants as a thing driven by the community interests. So it was a hard start, I think, for the previous committee, right? They were just learning about how do we go about funding, how do we evaluate grants, which grants do we fund. how do we focus on things without having overlap on what ZF or ECC is already doing? And so on one side, we had grants that were being applied and we're reviewing them. Other side, we had our own proposals that we're building, the request for proposals. We had certain ideas of what the community needs, and we were learning from the forum users what community needs, and we developed proposals for those so people can apply. Like I made the proposal RFP for making a unified UniFFI library for Zcash. So any programmer in Python, Java, Kotlin can use the basic cryptography methods for accessing Zcash. It doesn't have the syncing and the heavy lifting stuff, but at least you can get started with the crypto aspects of the Zcash network. So there have been such initiatives we took. But of course, so much learning curve, we realized we didn't have enough time to evaluate. Like we are given 15 hours a month compensation from ZF. But again, who's to stop you from working more? So some of us actually put in way more hours, reaching out to people, taking initiatives, going to conferences and growing. But while all of this was happening in the broader market, what was happening? With the whole bust of the SPF, FTX, the coin price kept going down, 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 down. So when I joined the committee in January, we had a treasury of $26.5 million. And by the time my tenure was over, it had reduced to $2.6 or $3 million.
Just because of the market.
Correct. So that changed a bunch of things for us. The lacking thing I feel I can talk, because I think this is public information, right? So we did not hedge our money. Like we did not store the sell ZEC for USD or USDC. We just held the ZEC we get from the block rewards and decided to release it as we feel when we voted on grants and evaluated them. Yeah, I mean, a bunch of challenges. You have 5 different people. You have a voting. You have regular brainstorming sessions. It was a bunch of work. It's
yeah, well, and like you're saying, this is the beginning of this process. We're so early in Zcash that we're still trying to figure out what we're doing.
Correct.
And it's like trying to change a jet engine while in flight, and like changing the name of the grant committee doesn't even sound like that big of a deal, but it's decisions that have to be made in order to figure out like how we best attract the best talent, how we get the best applicants for the grants, and changing the name might be the way to do that. And then there's also communication throughout the ecosystem between the communities. And so Matt, you said that you're new to Zcash.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and was it Nighthawk that brought you into Zcash? Did you have some interest before that?
Well, actually, Adi had asked me to get involved in some development with Nighthawk, I think a year or two prior to me actually joining, and just with at least my perceived skill set and kind of what it was about. And then, in January of this year, Adi reached out to me to see if I would be interested in helping out with this new version of Nighthawk. And it was really interesting because I had at the time been going through and learning the component architecture, which is it's an iOS Swift architecture that these guys, Point Free Co, they build. If you're a Swift developer, great guys over there. And he reached out to me and asked me if I'd be willing to help with this fork of ECC's wallet. And he said it uses TCA. I'm like, I've literally just been spending the last 2-3 months learning TCA. So the timing was right, and I felt like my skill set was up to the task. So I jumped in, and that's kind of where we're at now. So
that's very cool. And it's really nice to meet you here at this event for the first time.
Yeah,
DT and I, we've met before. We met at Zcon, I think, for the first time at Zcon4. And how does, in your experience being the second time at Zcon in person, how does this Zcon4 compare to Zcon3?
Again, for me personally, I'm kind of an introvert, like any
like a lot of us privacy folks.
Exactly. So the first year was more of like just getting to test the waters, meeting some people for the first time. Now it's more like people, so you can help other people to connect and see new connections forming. So it's much easier for the second year. If you leave out the fact that we still don't have a working wallet in the hands of our users yet with the delays in our relaunch. So yeah, it's a mixed feelings over here right now, but overall positive. We're going to get it out there, our third milestone for this year, and we'll take our feedback from our users.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's a really good attitude to have about it, and it really speaks to this passion that we had mentioned before. And it's interesting because when you're talking about how you work more hours than maybe you should, or working, we're so passionate about Zcash. I know that I do this, that it's like, okay, so I've worked enough hours this week, but there's all this other stuff I want to do. And it's like Zcash kind of becomes life at that point. And I just dealt with burnout a couple of years ago. It's a real problem, especially in developer communities.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips for how to, I guess, better manage our time and energy? I mean, you've been through it with Nighthawk apps, and
I know it's tough. I think it's unique to every individual. How much burnout can you handle? Like, I've worked in the software development for more than 10 years, and we've had intense burnout working as a contractor and a consultant. So for me personally, I try to copy away from keyboard, AFK. So, and for me, it's cooking. I cook for myself, and I go for runs. I run. Running helps me personally. I run full marathons. I'm going to run the Berlin Marathon this year, again for the third time, hopefully. And yeah, that helps me take my mind off. But yes, you're right. The burnout and the ongoing discussions about your work or things, the forum, keeping up with so many things, developments happening. Even though we're such a small community, there's so much being discussed and developed. So it's both realizing that, hey, we are a small group of people coming up and developing this new revolution, while at the same time, you have to realize that life is important. You cannot burn yourself out. You have to live your life day to day. You have to do the best, and only when you're healthy and feeling good, you're going to put the good out there.
Yeah, so true. So true. And I love how your hobbies are basically health, like cooking for yourself, eating well, and running, and marathons at that. Matt, do you have any hobbies that help take your mind off of work things?
Yeah. I have to force myself to get away from the keyboard and do some hobbies. I am recently married, so thank you. I spend a lot of my time, pouring into that and into my marriage, into my relationship with my wife. One of the things that we've been doing lately, just as a kind of take our mind off things, just fun thing to do together, is we play Mario Party on the Switch.
Nice.
We're both pretty competitive, but it always ends up being fun. And we also are trying to do more reading, get less screen time before bed, just because we both, we wake up and we're just really exhausted and really tired. And so we thought, well, maybe we'll try and reduce the screen time that we get before bed. So that's been helpful. Reading The Hobbit right now.
Which, also good.
Yeah, I really like that. And then I guess the only other one of the other hobbies that I have that I don't get to do as much during the summer, but I do during the school year, is play trombone. I played a lot of trombone in college, classical, jazz, and then the town that I live in is the same town that I went to university, and they have a trombone choir, and they invite community members to play. So I get to participate in that on a weekly basis, which is a lot of fun. So
yeah, that's awesome. The creative expression that you get from that, I'm sure, is very rewarding. And yeah. And then also like talking about the AFK hobbies, like my hobby is video games, and that, like, you probably see the shirt, and it's not that great of a hobby if you work on a computer all day long, because
screen time, more screen
time.
time.
It's more screen time. And then I'm sitting there working and thinking like, oh man, I really want to be playing a game, and I'd be sitting in the same place doing this, looking at the same screen. And I think having a musical hobby is a really good escape from that. And then also fitness and cooking is excellent. And with music, actually, there's I don't know if you've heard about this, but on Free to Z, there's a musician who's doing music classes on there, and different string instruments. And I think it's a really cool use case for that platform. It's neat stuff.
Yeah, very cool.
Mm-hmm. So that's Andres Palmer is the musician. You can check him out on Free to Z. And I hope to attend one of his classes sometime. The time zone thing is a bit tricky with all of our communities.
So it's all live, right? On Free to
It's
Z?
all live on Free to Z that he does it. I think it's once a week that he does it. Fridays, I want to say, but the time zones are really tricky with work with the global community. I think. I mean, like the Electric Coin Company and Zcash Foundation are all decentralized teams, and the Zcash community is spread all over the world. And now we're learning how to work together and find different tools to work together and to bridge language gaps and language barriers. And then we have time zones to deal with as well. And is your team decentralized in that way, where you have to try to solve these challenges of like time zones and coordination?
Yes, we are, primarily non-US based. So only two of our folks are in the US, Matt and another tester. I'm myself in Canada temporarily. I'm originally from India, so I have a couple of team members in India. Our designer is in Norway, and we have other contributors in Europe as well.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the community is decentralized, and they have been making pull requests, also contributing to translations. So we look at it as an open project.
Mm-hmm.
But as our team, yes, we are spread across 2 time zones. It does help us maintain and ship critical issues if something does happen, especially the infrastructure that we run for the Zcash ecosystem with the likewallet.com. Yeah, we need to have a quick turnaround if something goes down, because a lot of the ecosystem plans and wallets rely on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point, that there is a benefit to having people spread out around the time zones, that you can cover the emergency things and you can make good quick work of problems that you find. Yeah, it's really good stuff. Cool. Well, let's see what else is. We still got 2 days of Zcon left. Like, we've only done the 1 day, and it seems like a full conference already.
Oh yeah.
Like with the amount of content, the quality of the content, the density of the content. So the next 2 days, what are you looking forward to?
Just learning more about what else is happening in the ecosystem. There's a very large diversity of speakers this Zcon, and I just want to hear from everyone's works. Like today's session on programmability, the SOK programmability by Ying Tong and Daniel was very interesting, and a couple of other panels. So looking forward for more panels and one-on-one talks. And also I have a panel tomorrow. I'll be on the grants funding based panel. So
cool.
Yeah, I have one of those panels. On the third day, I have the Nighthawk roadmap panel and a wallet working session. So it's going to be a
yeah, it sounds like it. What about you, Matt? What are you looking forward to?
I think for me, the thing that I'm most looking forward to is, given that I'm still very early in my Zcash crypto journey, is just, letting my brain be a sponge, absorbing as much as I possibly can, learning about the ecosystem. And then the other aspect of it too is, just getting to know the human side of people, being able to stop talking shop for a second, being able to spend some time enjoying, a drink, just, breaking bread and all that sort of thing, just being able to, be a part of, a vibrant group of human beings. I think that is part of this that's going to be really exciting for me as well.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, because especially after the pandemic, where we couldn't be part of a group of vibrant human beings or a group of any human beings. And we weren't able to travel either, which really, we did Zcon4 was fully online. And then I think there was then Vegas happened after the year after that, with masks and all of this. And the Zcon is such an important event for the Zcash community. I think that in-person events are vital for any decentralized global project, community, network, whatever it is, that we need to come together and have a chance to be in the same time zone and in the same space and talk to each other and share these things that we don't normally talk about when we're pitching our projects or when we're troubleshooting or when we're building. That's all work, that's all Zcash, and that's good and that's fine, it's awesome, but there's so much more to all of us.
Yeah, well, and I think the other thing that I would add to that too is that, just given the nature of what we do, we've talked about it, people have these broad varying opinions and thoughts about how, the project should go, what direction we should go. And when you're behind a keyboard, it's really easy to let yourself get, uncivil. It can very easily, spiral out of control. But at an event like this, you're looking people in the eye. You're having conversations with them, and it causes you to take pause and think, okay, I'm gonna a little bit more tactfully disagree with you, or express those sorts of things that online it would be much easier to just go on a rant or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that all of the conversations, a lot of the debates and things that happen at Zcon, we try to be respectful. And it's like Dodger said something at the very beginning of his opening address, and he said, like, we do all disagree on some things. We have some pretty strong beliefs, and sometimes they don't always align. And the key is to be respectful, to listen, I think, is a really important thing. And this gets lost on the internet when there's text, and when there's that empty input box and a keyboard in front of you, then there's no listening in that equation.
No,
there's just none at all. And so, it's not even a fact of, it's not even like a matter of censoring ourselves when we're in person, but just being human.
Yeah.
More than being someone who's hidden by a machine or by the internet. So, yeah, I think that's really good stuff. And the Zcon is such an important event, and I'm really glad that you're both here. And that,
yeah, totally agree. All the conferences around the world where crypto builders attend, that is where all the connections happen. Everything from almost every blockchain that has been spun since many years ago, at some time they met at a crypto meetup, including Zcash, I believe, right? So there was a Bitcoin meetup in San Diego many years ago.
The San Francisco Bitcoin meetup.
SF, okay. So that's where the connections were shared about, hey, we can add zero knowledge proofs to Bitcoin. So that are the first ideas there that, hey, let's take the ZK tech to cryptocurrency and give privacy to the masses.
Yeah, it's true. And now you're mentioning other conferences, other crypto conferences. Do you have any other favorite conferences that you've been to?
So Zcash is such a unique value proposition for the world. You can actually go to any conference and pitch privacy. So one of the favorite conferences of mine is the DEF CON that happens in Vegas. So I'm going, again, that's happening in 2 weeks. I was there last year as well. You can speak to all the hackers there, builders, people who care about their privacy, people building their own operating systems to recognize the importance of zero knowledge proofs and Zcash. Otherwise, I do attend the local meetups wherever in which city I am at. Connect with local builders, learn about their projects, ask them about what do they think about privacy, right? So where do they see its role? And such conversations then take you to a more deeper understanding of what you're truly building. And is it truly going to be usable? And does it protect your users and their actions and their intentions, etc.?
Yeah, I agree. It's and the meetups are sometimes more interesting, more beneficial than the big conferences. Like you mentioned DEF CON, and that was actually my first tech conference that I ever went to. And talk about imposter syndrome. I'm a web developer who wrote a couple blogs about full disk encryption. And my friend who ran the blog site, he knew I always wanted to go to DEF CON, so he got me a press pass to go. And I'm wandering around. I don't know anyone. I barely know what they're talking about. And I grew up on computers. I was running a bulletin board service in the late 80s and early 90s. And then I was making websites in like the mid 90s, and then started doing it all then. So I consider myself relatively technical, but in that scene at DEF CON, when you're alone, like it's a really intimidating environment, and it's all very tech focused. Where at Zcon we have a huge, now this year especially, we have this real diversity of interests and ideas and people and backgrounds as well, that I feel like there's a different comfort level that you can find someone to talk to and connect with. And it's not like everything is way over your head like it can happen at other conferences.
Yeah, I would say that both of those things that you just described are benefits of this ecosystem. Because ever since my time in university, I've been I've just learned that being around people that are better than you, in a sense, or like smarter than you, or like they're better at something than you, can only help you. When I went to university, I thought I was like really good at trombone. Then I went and played in this music department that every single person was so much better than me. And I had this moment where I was like, dang it, everybody's way better than me. Like, I want to practice and I want to get better. And I did. Like, I ended up just becoming very good because I spent so much time in the practice room, because I was around people that were operating and playing at a very high level. And I think that we benefit from that in Zcash, right? Like, I've met so many people that can talk crypto just off the top of their head, cryptography. And I'm like, I only know maybe 25% of the words that you're saying right now. But like, me having that realization is just like, it pushes me in to learn and to do research and want to be better so that I can contribute at a high level. And then you get to pay that forward by being that person for somebody else. And then, just like you said, add to that the fact that even with these really smart people, they're very approachable and they're very kind and they're very just welcoming. And I think that's just a testament to the group of people that you have here in this community working on this project. So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I totally agree that this community and something about Zcash is bringing this community together that is very compassionate and very thoughtful. And I think you can see it in Zuko. You can see it in the people who work at ECC. You can see it in the foundation. You can everyone that we've talked to. There's a real level of respect and dignity that we're treated with, and that we treat each other with. And I think, I mean, I know I've been at conferences, at tech conferences, where that's not a thing. And you just, it's like the classic thing of going to some forum and saying, hey, I have this problem. And then instead of someone giving you a solution, they call you an idiot. And that doesn't happen here. I don't think. I haven't experienced it. And I consider myself to be like the dumbest person in a lot of these rooms, because like you had mentioned, Ying Tong's talk today, and I sat in on that for a minute and was like, what the heck? Like, this is so far over my head. But luckily everything's being recorded, live streamed and recorded, so we can go back and watch it later. I can go back and watch it later and probably get a lot more out of it. And that's then using that dynamic to my benefit in order to become better. I don't expect to be doing the anything like what Ying Tong's doing, but it's still valuable to know, have a rough idea of what other people in the ecosystem are working on and what they're doing. And then, as a content creator, as someone with the ZFAV Club, one of my goals is to be able to kind of bridge that gap of how do we explain zero knowledge proofs to people? How do we get proper UX feedback on an application that doesn't log? And this is a common problem with decentralized projects in general, privacy projects. So there's some really interesting challenges for me to solve from what I bring to the conference and to the ecosystem.
Absolutely. All the work you're doing, like, who knows, in the future, you'll be making videos and tutorials about programmability on Zcash.
Yeah. And that is really my goal, because what I can bring to other Zcashers is this ability to record, to live stream, to document, and then work with people who don't have the time or the interest in knowing that stuff, but their information is incredibly valuable. And like, for example, one of the things that I really want to do is have live stream calls with wallet developers and with ECC developers, and you go through their code, and basically, like the way that you would add comments to your code, to document your code. And now, instead of a live coding type Twitch stream, you have a live documentation thing. And it could be, there might be some developer that's trying to learn how to code or how to build on your platform on Zcash, or how to maybe modify, make pull requests on one of the wallets. And they are having trouble with understanding a certain function or a certain method and how it works. And they can find that part in the video, and the developer, the person who wrote the code, is there to explain it to them.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea, actually. Even if we can make a bare minimum video for helping users open a pull request for or filing an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to describe the issue, the steps, many people are still new to the technical jargons and GitHub. So
Yes.
if you make it easy to understand video on how our users can open an issue against our wallet, that will help us fix it sooner and improve the wallet faster.
Yeah, it's so true that, like, there's so many learning curves and roadblocks that are involved that aren't about Zcash even. Like, like GitHub, real clear, like speed bump there. I think every time I try to use GitHub, I have to relearn how to use GitHub. and it's, I mean, there's other tools that make it better. I don't necessarily know those tools because I don't use it that often. I've used it for websites and things in the past. But having this kind of sort of parallel information it makes it easier for onboarding, we'll say, then I think that there's a lot of value to that. And looking outside of just Zcash and what are the systems that are connected to Zcash, what are the communities that are connected to Zcash that we can then reach out to and help to learn from each other and collaborate. And like you say, like if someone finds a bug in your application, they don't have any clue how to get there, how to go, but they can Google like how do I create an issue, and then or DuckDuckGo or whatever you want to do. Like you can do how to create an issue, and then we come up with these videos that explain it specifically.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about, how we can all work together and bring all of our different interests. I mean, it'd be awesome if we could have a live trombone party sometime.
You know what? We could probably make that happen.
Maybe after the launch of the wallet. Right?
Yeah.
Not right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Adi wants to keep me focused on code.
Yeah, that's legit. I totally could appreciate that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Cool. So do we have someone else hello? Hi. Do you want to come talk to us?
Yeah.
And everyone watching the live stream is like, what's going on? Who's this? Who's coming up? Dan, can you check the camera for us? Yeah, just check the camera out.
Oh, are we live on the internet?
Yes, we are live on the internet. Woo! We're live on the ZFAV Club YouTube, and it is being restreamed by Rabma with Spanish subtitles onto Zcash en Español, free to Z, Zcash en Español YouTube, and into the Zcash Global Discord in the Spanish